Hey, my kitchen peeps. Maggie's back, and we are going to whip up something that's fresh and light and tasty and extremely versatile. So today we're going to make a teriyaki bowl. And that's about as far as you need to go with the title because the ingredients can be switched up to all kinds of things. Today we're going to use chicken. I've got a pound of stewed chicken that was in the freezer from, where I taught y'all how to stew a whole chicken and pick the meat and put it in the bag and freeze it. Well, I had a pound, so I just pulled that out. You could also use a boneless, skinless chicken. My favorite's boneless, skinless thighs. Cut it in little chunks. That works great. I've done both. You want to do beef? You could get some tenderized steak, skirt steak, anything like that. Ooh, got an itchy nose. So it's a super versatile dish. That's going to be our protein. If you want to go meatless, can't imagine why you'd want to, but if you do, you could throw in some beans, different kinds of beans to give you some protein. Remember our teriyaki sauce we made? I pulled one out of the freezer. We're going to be using that. So teriyaki that we know all the ingredients. Stuff we're not worried about eating. So boom. Then for veggies, the original recipe that I've worked with calls for, and I've already done all the prep, or most of the prep, just for the sake of a shorter video, because I didn't figure I needed to show y'all how to slice an onion. Now, I've made this with Trilogy, but I had some purple onion I needed to use, so I did that. It's 8 ounces of onion. The original recipe doesn't call for broccoli, but I had loads of broccoli in the fridge, so I thought I'm gonna throw some in there. We love broccoli. It calls for sweet potato. Yeah, that's hot. I think it's a pound of sweet potato, so I did a half a pound and then a half a pound of broccoli. Sweet potato is not our favorite thing in the world, but it's good in this dish. But I thought, I'm gonna kind of break it up. Some garlic, called for a tablespoon of minced garlic. I think I did 2, whatever. I like garlic, so my mantra, my kitchen, I'll do what I want. Your kitchen, do what you want. It's 8 ounces of shredded carrots. I've already shredded up my carrots. Y'all don't need to know how to shred a carrot. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. A cup of coconut milk, like the real deal in the can, full fat, ooh, yummy coconut milk. And the original recipe calls for quinoa. I love it with quinoa. Quinoa is one of my fave things. My husband hates it. So I'm doing basmati rice instead. Love me some basmati rice. So I thought I'll just swap that out. He'll be happy, everybody's good. Cabbage, which, let me see if I can flip this guy down here. Well, it helps if I get this turned around right. Sorry for the headache. But the cabbage, I was working on it and I thought, well, let me show you one little thing. And this is so personal preference. You can do however you want to do. I will usually, I needed 3/4 of a pound, so 12 ounces. So I got my cabbage, weighed it, cut off what looked about to be, and I got 11.94. Boom. Ounces. So I was right there. You can, the recipe says shred, so I just cut it really thin. I don't like long strings of cabbage when I'm eating because you pick it up and it's hanging off there and I don't want to fight that trying to get it in my mouth. So, not that I couldn't get it in my mouth, but what I usually do is I'll take a cabbage and shred it like I just showed you and then just come across here and cut it, depending on the size of the cabbage, 2, 3, 4 times. Just so it's a little more bite size. Y'all, this is pure personal preference. You do whatever you want to do. If you want to cut it in cubes or chunks or, that's fine too. Cut it however you and your family or whoever you're serving likes. That had a little funk on it. We'll knock that to the side. So there's my cabbage. Now the sweet potato, said to be roasted and wanted it soft but not mushy. So see, well, you probably can't tell, but I get the fork in there, but it doesn't just gush through it like a super, super soft mashed one. And then we're just gonna peel the skin off. I mean, I'm not gonna do it right this second because I just took this out of the oven and it's about 8,000 degrees. But once I get it peeled, I'm gonna cut it in little cubes. Then we're gonna scoot over to the stove in just a second and put this together. It seriously is, you've got some veggie prep, but it's super easy, super quick. Ooh, camera's a little crooked. Oh well, I hope y'all are okay with that. I just really felt like I wanted something fresh today. I just wanted some fresh veggies. Oh, and you know what else? It calls for, yes, you guessed it, a half a pound of greens. You can use spinach, kale, dandelion greens, chard, mustards, collard, whatever you want to use. You know what I'm doing. I'm going to go bebopping out to my garden. I meant to do that already. Grab me a half a pound, bring it in here, and cut it in strips. And we're going to have fresh chard in ours. But whatever kind of greens you want. But here's the thing, too, with this recipe. You can add and substitute whatever vegetables you want to do. Bok choy is awesome. String beans, awesome. So, I mean, any kind of fresh veggies that you have, or even frozen, works. It's perfectly fine. In the winter, frozen's going to be probably your best bet. So whatever you want to do, you like lots of greens, load up on the greens. You want more root veggies, do more sweet potato, throw you some rutabaga in there. You could do some radish, some kohlrabi, mix and pat. Oh, and you know what else? Just keep thinking. I've got some sauteed cremini mushrooms in the fridge. Yep, some of those are going in here. So it's a very flexible, forgiving dish that you can do all kinds of things with. So I'm going to pause, kind of move our stuff over to the stove, go outside and get my chard. I should have done that already. And then we'll come back and we'll put this together. And it's easy, easy, easy. What I should have done was did all this, wait till the hubs gets home, because as usual, he's gone to the bus and I'm cooking. And then did the rice, but like a ding dong, I already cooked my rice. It's fine. It's going to be fine, but it just won't be quite as fresh, but whatever, it'll be good. It will be good. So y'all hang tight. I'm going to run harvest, do a tiny bit more prep, and then we'll throw this way easy dish together. So hang on. Good golly, y'all know I can't ever pause this thing without thinking, oh shoot, I should have said. Let me turn this down real quick and show you one thing. On the chicken, it was just wrapped up in some parchment paper and in a big Ziploc bag. So it's just what I picked, kind of just globbed together. I don't want ginormous chunks in mine because I think I've mentioned before, I like to get a little bit of everything in the different bites. And if you pull a hunk out like that to eat, you're not going to get too much more in that bite. So what I will do, I mean, this is still, it's not frozen, but it's really cold. I'll just take this and cut like this, just to get some little bit smaller pieces. Like I said, it's not frozen anymore, but it's just really, really cold. So it kind of stayed together in that block. And then that way, it's more manageable, kind of bite-sized pieces. Like I maybe even turn this and kind of come back through here. And then if I see any other, like, ooh, that's kind of big, let me cut that down. You know, just do some of that so that the flavors are all distributed. Not that you need every single flavor in every single bite, but you don't want to just eat chicken, just eat this. You want to get a mixture of things. So, you know, when I cut up my broccoli, tried to cut it kind of small. I mean, that's obviously a pretty decent, big bite. I cut my stem in there. You know how I am, don't waste, and I like the crunchy stems, so I put those in there. Some of the broccoli heads are a little bit smaller. You know, cut that one. So just to give it a little bit of variety in the texture and the size of the things. And then really it's just you're grouping the veggies together that cook best. Personally, if it were me by myself, which thank God it's not, I would put, well, that sounded ugly, but I just mean, thank goodness my family, I have my husband and my son here. I would put my broccoli with my cabbage, because cabbage cooks pretty quick, so it goes in at the end and it doesn't cook as long. So I like mine kind of crisp and bright and all that. My son and my husband like broccoli baby food. They want it super soft and almost mush. So I'm going to do it with the onions so it cooks longer and gets softer. So you just kind of, you know, carrots normally would take longer to cook, but because I've shredded them, I mean, that's not going to take long at all. That's going to cook really quick because it's all shredded up. The sweet potato, it's roasted, so it's not going to take long. So it'll go in with the cabbage and the greens. So, I mean, you just kind of, whoops, well, that was dumb. Put my peel in my cabbage. We're going to put things in the skillet in the teriyaki sauce based on how quickly they cook and what level of doneness that we want things. Since my mushrooms are all cooked, they really just need to be heated. I'll put them at the very end, and then that's about it. So I'm gonna pause, go grab my chard, do what I said I was gonna do a minute ago, and we'll be back. Okay, I look like a bigger wreck than I did before. I went outside and it starts raining. What is it with the rain around here? Lord, you'd think we lived in Seattle. Ah. Oh well, I know in the summer we're gonna be begging for rain, but right now I'm kind of over it. But anyway, it was a beautiful weekend, so I'll just hush. I wanted to tell you, you know how it is, a couple more things. So let me show you this. I dumped my chicken into the skillet. Oops, see that right there? Boom. Right, whatever, you figured it out, right there. So I've got my chicken sitting in there. Since it's cooked, all I need to do is put a little teriyaki in. I'm just gonna kind of warm it. That's all I really need to do. It doesn't need to be cooked. If it was raw, then we'll put it in there and cook it, which doesn't take very long, but just gotta make that little adjustment based on the type of meat you're using. Now this is the teriyaki sauce. You know, it's straight out of the freezer, it's thawed out, but I wanted to show you, see how, don't let that freak you out. If it does, maybe it doesn't, you're like, whatever. But it just, you know, it gets a little texture difference after it's been in the freezer. You're gonna have a little bit of the watery part kind of separate. But once you mix it up a little bit, it is perfectly fine. And then of course, once it heats, it'll be a little bit thinner than this, which personally I like mine a little thicker, but that's the scoop on that. So I'm gonna take this over to the stove, drizzle, this is a cup, I'm gonna drizzle about a quarter cup on top of my chicken and just let it sit there for a few minutes. Then I'm gonna come back and work on this tater and show you what, maybe a trick or two for you, or maybe you're just like, ho hum, I've done that. So hang tight. Okay, so I just drizzled a quarter cup over my chicken and turned it on the lowest setting on my stove. But for the potato, I was just gonna show you kind of a little trick to peeling it. I usually get a serrated knife. This is one of my little steak knives. It's got a little bit of a serrated edge. And just kind of, anytime you have a cooked potato, whether it's a sweet potato or, you know, a russet potato you've baked or a yellow tater, whatever, this works. And it just kind of helps get that peel off so you're not just picking with your finger and then getting frustrated because it doesn't want to come off. The little serrated edge just helps it. The teriyaki sauce is heating up back there and it's smelling good. So we just want to do that and then like cut that little tip off. So there's our tater. And like I said, the original recipe that I've worked from, that I used to do, had 2 pounds potatoes. This is a half a pound, so it would have had 2 potatoes, 2 of these. But we're just not as big a sweet potato eaters. So I substituted some broccoli, which we love. And I'm just gonna go in here and cut my potato into some little bite-sized cubes. And of course they're getting a little bigger as I go farther down, and that's quite all right. You cut it whatever size, whatever way you want to cut it. And then these obviously are going in with the cabbage because they're already cooked, so they don't really need to cook anymore. They'll just get reheated with the rest of the dish at the end. So I'm gonna pause this, put all this in my compost. I washed my chard. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. I'm gonna prep it and then we'll hit the stove. And I need to hit, okay, a couple seconds like a proud mama. I gotta show y'all, look how gorgeous this is. Here's some of the kind of red veins. Oh my gosh, I love it. So, okay, I'll quit. I'll prep this and then we'll move to the stove. Okay, we're back. This is obviously the chicken. I had just drizzled the teriyaki, turned it on just to let it start warming up and just, you know, kind of, I don't know that I would say marinate because it's not been in here 5 or 6 minutes maybe. I know it's been less than 10. Just kind of heat up, get all the teriyaki sauce on it. Again, if you were using raw meat, this would be your step where you would cook your meat in the teriyaki sauce. Since mine's already cooked, I'm just doing more of a heating kind of thing. Y'all, this is ridiculous. My mouth is watering so bad, I can't hardly talk. The teriyaki just smells really good. Okay, so I'm going to, and this is what you would do whether you're using raw or cooked meat. So I'm going to scoop my meat out and just set it to the side. Look at this. Oh, fine job picking my chicken. How about a bone? Oh, that got off to the side. You know you got some real home cooking when you pull out a chicken bone. Oh well. All right, so we'll just get this out of the way. And then I'm going to add a tiny bit of bacon grease to the skillet because, you know, I can't hardly cook without it. And this is one of those things, again, the original recipe didn't call for that. It just said, put your onions and garlic in teriyaki and cook it. And I'm like, well, I want my onions more almost, I don't know that if I go so far as to say caramelized, but kind of more towards that end than just a little crunchy, slashy, soft in teriyaki. So I add, I don't know, probably a couple tablespoons of my wonderful bacon grease. I'm gonna turn my heat up. Look at these bowls. Is this beautiful or what? Oh my gosh, chow down. But I went ahead and put the stems from my chard in here. So I just cut those up, and then we've got our broccoli, garlic, and our onions. I'm gonna let this get hot. There we go, starting to sizzle some. And then I think I'm gonna get my onions in here first and let them go just a little bit longer. You know how I am about raw onions, not a fan. I mean, I can eat them cooked all day long. Probably get my chard stems in here. You could even do your broccoli stalks because they're a little bit more to them. So I just kind of want to put it in here so that the things that may take a little longer to cook down a little bit better. If you like all your stuff real crunchy in a stir-fry type quinoa bowl, then you can do it that way. And personally, that's how I would like it. But the hubs and the son don't care for that too much. So we can go this route. It's good. I'll eat it. I'm not going to turn it down. Should have thought about that before I did all the mixing in the bowl like a goober. But I wasn't thinking about cooking my onions down longer. But see, it's no big deal. We can recover. All right, that's good. So I'm going to let this cook down just a little bit to get my onions a little softer. The broccoli heads won't take quite as long as this stuff. And goodness, onion and bacon grease is one of the best smells on the planet. Okay, I'm gonna pause. I'm seriously, and I'll time this. Probably gonna give it 3 or 4 minutes. I mean, I'm not gonna let it go super long. I just don't want to bite down into a crunchy raw onion. So hang tight. Okay, we're gonna keep going from here because we'll just keep layering in more veggies. So this stuff will continue to cook. So I'm gonna add the rest of my broccoli and the garlic that I have minced up. And then we're going to put in our carrots. And at this point, I'm going to add in another 1/4 cup of the teriyaki sauce. Oh, look at that. How pretty. I love some bright colors in my food. It just means all kinds of different nutrition. Okay. I'll quit singing about vegetables to you. So, another 1/4 cup. For a second there, I thought I had 1/3 of a cup, which wouldn't be the end of the world, but whoa, oh, good job making a ginormous mess. That's my favorite thing to do. All right, so we're just going to stir this around. I'm going to turn it down to medium. Oh my gosh, y'all. And just kind of, you just want to really cook this to however far you like it to go. If I were eating this, and this is where I was stopping with the veg, I could stop right now and eat that broccoli just like it is, crunchy and bright, and oh my gosh. But, you know, we've had that conversation. So, All right, from here, let's add in our cabbage, because it'll take a little bit longer than our chard. I didn't have 87 bowls to split all this stuff up in. Plus, I didn't want to wash them all, so. And if it's a little bit extra mixed in there, ain't gonna hurt a thing. So, I didn't get every single piece of cabbage, but I got the bulk of it. Oop, there's some under my taters. All right. Now, yes, I'm doing this the hard way. If I'd had a bunch of little prep bowls, I just didn't do it. Let me get all my dadgum carrots off the stove. What a goober. All right, so we're going to keep stirring this around. Golly, y'all, this, oh, it looks good. Get this stirred in real good. And then we're going to add our coconut milk. And here's the thing, if you've never cooked with canned coconut milk, if you get a really good quality one, you're going to have a big glob of fat, the coconut fat, or oil, however you want to term it, in there. And you have to be careful when you open it, because it could, like, you could accidentally spill a lot. Oh, my word, I could pig out right now. But I had shook this up real hard, the jar, so a lot of it broke up. But you see that big lump, and there's some right there on the side. That's what we're talking about. So it's really good to either stir it really well or shake it really well. I mean, if you're going to use the whole can, no biggie, just pour it all in there. But if you're not using the whole thing, like I'm not, I only need a cup, which is about half of this, a little less than, or a little more than half. Then you just want to mix it up real good so you don't wind up with all fat in this dish and all milk in the next one, or vice versa. So I'm going to run and grab a measuring spoon because I didn't do that. Hang on. Okay, here's my cup of coconut milk. In we go. And it's going to make it just a tiny bit brothy, which is fine, because when you mix your grain in, whether you use quinoa or rice, whatever, you want that little bit of moisture in there. All right, now I'm going to go in with the rest of my veggies. See, and I still have a little bit of cabbage that was in the bottom, and it's fine. It'll wilt down just fine. I almost didn't get a big enough skillet. Whoopsie. But this chard, you know how chard does. Not quite as much as spinach, but it's going to wilt down. So, all we need to do is just stir this around. Wowzer. Like I said, my mouth's watering. I'm going to pause so y'all don't watch me stir. We'll get this mixed up real good. Oh wait, sorry, I almost screwed up. I got to add the rest of my teriyaki. So we're right at about a half a cup going in right now. And then we'll stir this. And then it's really done. And at the point you just mix your meat in, mix your grain in. And you can either just mix it all into one ginormous bowl, which is probably what I'll do just because it's easier. Or you could just mix your meat back in here. And then when you serve it, put your grain in the bottom of the bowl and put all your veggies and meat on top of it. Either way. Oh, and then don't forget to add a little salt. We're going to salt to taste here. So I'll let the veggies get to the place I want them to be. And then add the place I want them to be as far as how cooked they are. I'm babbling now because I'm drooling. And then we'll taste it for salt. Okay, so like a ginormous goober, I turned the camera off instead of restarting it. Hit the wrong button like a dork. So, I believe where I left off is when I was getting the coconut milk measured. So all I've done, if I haven't totally screwed this video up, is I added my cup of coconut milk, put all the rest of my veggies in, and have just been stirring it around. Look how beautiful it is. Your body's gonna love some of this. So all that's left to do, oh, and I put the rest of the teriyaki. That was the other thing. So the coconut milk, the rest of the veggies, the rest of the teriyaki, stir it up real good. Now I'm going to add my chicken back in, and we'll get it stirred around. Sometimes it's just easier to do it in little small bits like this instead of dump it all and then try and stir it all. Move that over. Do it kind of in quarters. This is one, quote unquote recipe, and makes quite a bit. I had planned on halving it, but I thought, well, I'll make the whole thing just so it shows. I mean, you can serve, it says 6 servings. It's way more than that because it doesn't even have the rice or, the quinoa, whichever you would wind up doing in it. But look how beautiful. Those bright colors and all that flavor and texture. All right, I'm gonna turn this off because I don't want my vegetables to just turn to mush. But that's it, peeps. I'm gonna add some salt, taste it a little bit, and add salt to taste. I'd say probably a couple teaspoons. You can start with that or start with 1 and taste it and see what you think. And then when you serve it, you can either put the rice in a bowl and put all this on top and it's just real pretty, or if it's easier, just dump your rice in there, mix it all up real good and serve it that way. That's probably what I'm gonna do because it's easiest. And it's all about what's easy when you're trying to get dinner on the table. If you're having a dinner party, put the rice in the bowl and put this on top. But when you're just trying to get dinner, a good healthy dinner on the table, mix it all. So there you go. Teriyaki bowl with homemade teriyaki sauce and loads of fresh veggies. And I'm going to salt and plate, and I'll give you one last peek. And there you are, my peeps. Teriyaki bowl. Got my basmati rice. Here's my basmati rice that finished cooking. God, I love that stuff. I could eat it straight out of the pot. Is that gorgeous? I'm going to put some of my cowboy candy on it. Oh, I think that's going to be good. And we're going to have an amazing supper. So y'all give it a shot. Like it, comment, try it, hug it, love it. Try it with other things. Other meats, other veggies. Do all kinds of fun stuff. And let me know what you think. My camera's all crooked. Sorry. Look at that. I'm making lard back there. Can you see that? Anywho, y'all have a good one. Comment, subscribe, all the jazz. Let me know. See you in the next video.